This is an overview of the Federal Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act for Title I programs. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, WIOA, became law July 22, 2014. It includes 4 titles: Adult Dislocated Worker and Youth Programs administered by local workforce development boards, Title II, Adult Basic Education Programs administered by North Carolina Community College System, Title III, Employment Service Programs administered by Department of Commerce Division of Workforce Solutions, and Title IV, Vocational Rehabilitation Programs administered by North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. The purpose of WIOA is to increase, particularly among individuals with barriers to employment, access to education, employment, training, and supportive services. To promote and improve the structure of and delivery of services to job seekers and employers. To support the alignment of workforce, education, and economic development in the development of a comprehensive workforce system. To improve the quality of workforce, education, and economic development. To increase the prosperity of workers and employers. To provide workforce activities that increase the self-sufficiency of our citizens. The WIOA Title I process begins with the chief elected officials. For the designation of the local workforce area, there are 23 workforce boards in our state. To develop a consortium agreement that outlines the responsibilities for each of the counties in the consortium. The selection of the entity to receive and administer WIOA funding for the counties in the consortium. The nomination of members to the local Workforce Development Board, and working with the Workforce Development Board to provide program oversight and ensure coordination of workforce services. In a multi-county workforce area, counties must enter into a consortium agreement and designate a chief elected official to represent them and designate a local WIOA grant recipient. Our local area is comprised of Carteret, Craven, Duplin, Greene, Jones, Lenoir, Onslow, Pamlico, and Wayne counties. The consortium has designated the Eastern Carolina Workforce Development Board as its administrative and fiscal agent. Counties must send a letter to the state designating the composition of the local workforce area. There must be an agreement between the CEO, consortium, and Workforce Development Board that outlines the roles and responsibilities. The consortium approves the bylaws. The consortium enters into an agreement with the state and is responsible for the WIOA funds for the local area. In our area, these designations were made in 2015. The appointments for the Workforce Development Board representatives must show 51% majority from the private sector. Counties should solicit private sector nominations from business organizations such as the Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development, or trade associations. Private sector appointments should be from business owners or CEOs with optimal policy-making authority. They must represent in-demand sectors such as healthcare, manufacturing, construction and skilled trade, aerospace and aviation, transportation, distribution, and logistics. 20% of the board appointments must represent organized labor, community-based organizations with training experience, and apprenticeship programs. The remainder from other required organizations and agencies, such as a president from the community college system, president or superintendent from the public schools, the director from economic development, a director from social services, director from vocational rehabilitation, and the director from employment service, Division of Workforce Solutions. The Eastern Carolina Workforce Development Board has 28 members. Counties are required to appoint 3 representatives to the board, with the exception of the county that holds the chair position. In that case, the county will appoint a 4th representative. The Workforce Development Board Executive Director will notify the counties of vacant board appointments and inform them of the vacancy appointment category to be filled to ensure compliance with the WIOA board composition categories. Board appointments are generally for a 2-year period ending on June 30th. The Consortium and Workforce Development Board has a dual focus. One, ensuring local and regional workforce system coordination with our workforce and economic development partners. And two, the oversight of the WIOA resources and outcomes. The responsibilities of the board in partnership with chief elected officials include the involvement of the local plan development, oversight of the WIOA budget, activities and outcomes, selection of the NCWorks one-stop operators and service providers, meet the WIOA performance standards, lead efforts to engage employers, lead efforts to develop and implement career pathways within the area, and with partners coordinate workforce efforts in the area. The WIOA funding flows from Congress to U.S. Department of Labor to the 50 states. The governor designates the state administrative agent, which in North Carolina it's the Department of Commerce Division of Workforce Solutions, who then designates and allocates funds to all 100 counties through the elected officials to the designated grant recipient administrative entity, which in this case again, our 9 counties have selected the Eastern Carolina Workforce Development Board as that grant recipient administrative entity. The local board, in partnership with chief elected officials, report back and are responsible to North Carolina Department of Commerce Division of Workforce Solutions and the NCWorks Commission. The WIOA funding factors are determined for Title I on 3 categories: youth, adult, and dislocated workers. For youth, it's the number and percent of unemployed individuals in that county, the number of percent of disadvantaged youth in the county. Adult, the number and percent of unemployed individuals in the county, the number and percent of disadvantaged adults. For dislocated workers, the number and percent of unemployed individuals, the number and percent of unemployed over 15 weeks. Funds come to the 9 counties in an allocation, and typically the funding allocations for Eastern Carolina are around $3 million per year. Local areas have 2 years to spend those funds and can carry over funds into the following year. Our area contracts primarily with our community colleges and school systems, and we have 1 community-based organization. The local workforce development board has to make funding decisions that are set around developing policy for determining priority of service for adults, determining participant supportive services, setting training account caps for individuals, determining the demand occupations for training within the region, and approving training providers as listed on NCWorks Online. The board has to balance the funds for short-term and long-term training, on-the-job training, and work experience opportunities. For WIOA participant eligibility, youth, there are 2 categories. In school, ages 14 to 21, it's based on family income and an additional barrier to employment. For out-of-school youth, that's ages 16 to 24 with a barrier to employment. At least 75% of the local WIOA funds must be spent on out-of-school youth, and at least 20% must be spent on work-based learning. For adults ages 22 and older, they must be low income and be a citizen of the U.S. and have the right to work in the U.S. For male, they must register for selective service. For dislocated workers, they must have been terminated or laid off from employment and unlikely to return to that industry or occupation. The WIOA Title I program is held to the following performance standards. For adult and dislocated workers, it's determined based on those that have entered employment 2nd quarter after exiting a training program or activity. Employment retention after 4th quarter of exiting a training or employment activity. Average earnings the 2nd quarter after exit. For youth, it's determined based on the youth placed in employment and education at 2nd quarter after exit. Attainment of a diploma or a credential within 1 year after exit. Employment, training, or education retention at 4th quarter after exit. The average earnings 2nd quarter after exit. Achieving measurable literacy skill gains during program year, and employer satisfaction measures as determined by U.S. Department of Labor. All of our services are available through the NCWorks Career Centers within our 9 counties, either in person or by visiting ncworks.gov. NCWorks Career Center services for job seekers include skills assessments, job search assistance, resume assistance, job listings, career planning and development, connection with high school diploma and GED programs, occupational skills training, literacy skills, job search and life skills classes, supportive services, opportunities, and short-term, long-term work-based learning and OJT training opportunities. NCWorks business services include employee recruitment and screening, tax credit and hiring information, research materials such as labor trends and industry trends, workshop and seminar and job fair opportunities, skills assessment for job candidates and testing, rapid response services, training services for employees, workplace literacy training, youth services, and outreach opportunities. For more information, please visit the ecwdb.org website. For information about the Consortium and Workforce Development Board, look under About. For information for job seekers and students, look under Individuals, Services for Employers, information on career pathways and labor information, and other resources and media are available on our website. You can also contact me, Tammy Childers, the Executive Director for the Eastern Carolina Workforce Development Board, at childers@ecwdb.org. Thank you very much.